Hi friends, welcome to Creative DIY Purpose. Today we'll be repurposing some thrift store finds and upcycling a couple pieces of scrap wood. And I have a couple vintage items to share with you. So come on, let's get started. I'd like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Project number 1, we're going to be making a metal pedestal from this candlestick holder and metal bread basket. We're going to be adhering them together with E6000. Just apply it really well on there. And I turn it upside down and make sure that the base doesn't slide off. So sometimes you have to prop them up. Usually I have them dry overnight, but this one I didn't have that much time. So it was dry by the afternoon. I applied 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color Celery. It adhered beautifully. Normally, I would have applied a sealer first before painting metal, but I was in a bit of a hurry. Thankfully, it adhered beautifully. I didn't have any problems with chipping. Now I'm applying a very generous coat of DIY white wax. I'll let that sit on for probably about an hour and then come in with a cloth and wipe it back. I really am hoping that it helps add some texture and age this piece up a little. The first vintage item that I'd like to share with you today belonged to my grandmother. It is a half apron, and it has beautiful embroidered butterflies and flowers. I love all of the edging and the detail, and I can remember my mom wearing it because my grandmother passed along to my mom, and my mom recently gifted it to me, and I just think it is absolutely beautiful. I wore it the first day that she gave it to me, and we'll keep it for special occasions. All right, so this week I found this piece of scrap wood and just going to run my sander over it, remove the staples. And then I thrifted this a year ago and thought that I can repurpose those knobs, and I'm going to make a little riser and try to use the knobs for feet. We'll see how it goes. I'm taking a damp cloth, getting off any of the dust from sanding it. Plus I want the surface to be damp. I'm going to apply some antique wax, but I really don't want it on full strength. So using a new damp cloth, I'm applying some of the antique wax, and it's the one from Waverly. And I just did the 1 coat. While this piece is drying, I will add some of the antique wax onto those 4 wooden knobs. So I allowed them to dry, wipe them with a clean cloth, and now I'm figuring out which side I want the feet to go on. I was originally going to drill in to the bottom and screw these knobs in, but decided it'd be quicker just to use E6000. So here I'm just kind of measuring to make sure that I get them even before I glue them on. I like how this turned out. It was such a super quick, easy project using items that we already had on hand. Let me know if you've made one before or if you plan to. Project number 3 is reusing another piece of scrap wood that I found. I was going to make a shelf, but you can tell that this one is warped, kind of sags down in the middle, and that is okay because we're going to turn this into a sign for my kitchen. And this is another super easy project. I used my cordless sander, only took me a couple of minutes to get a nice smooth surface. The paint is the wicker white acrylic paint from Folk Art that you can get from Walmart. I think it's right around $1. and it's non-toxic, and I've had really good results painting smalls with it. So I only applied one coat. I did take some fine grit sandpaper and lightly go over the sign. Now I'm using the typesetter stamps from IOD. If you do not have stamps the size that you're looking for, I've had really good results using freezer paper transfers, and I will link a video on the end of this one that walks you through how to print and use them. All right, yay. Always love when it comes out. Okay, so I'm going to run some fine grit sandpaper over that just to lighten it up a little bit. Now I'm taking my stamp pad, just going around the edges, just to give it an aged look. I did decide to run the fine grit sandpaper over where I inked around the outside edge and to run it through again over the letters. I had some of the antiquing wax from Waverly left onto my sponge, and I gently went throughout the sign just so it would pick up some of the antique wax. Skillshare is an online community that promotes creativity and learning by offering thousands of classes on topics including illustration, design, photography, video, writing, and much more. You can take classes to level up your current skills or to relax and learn something new, like my daughter and I did, taking a Learn to Draw class from Gabrielle Bricky. We found her class to be very well thought out, easy to follow, and very organized. You don't have to take the class all sitting down at once. You watch different segments multiple times, and you can watch them on the go on your phone. The first 1,000 people to use the link or my code Creative DIY Purpose will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. The next vintage items that I'd like to share with you guys today are some of these beautiful coffee mugs. I can remember these when I was a little girl. I do not know the age of them. I just thought that they were so dainty and so beautiful, and my mom passed those along to me a few years ago. And I think that they are so pretty and dainty, and I wanted to share them with you all because I thought you would enjoy seeing them. Project number 4 is a wooden magazine rack that I never realized when I bought it that it was missing the spindles, and I'm thinking, oh, somebody had so much fun crafting with those 8 spindles. But that's okay. I've got some wooden dowels, and I figured that they would do the trick. So before I apply the paint, I did take off some of the knobs to make it a little bit easier when I do go to add the spindles, making sure that the paint gets down on the side. I'm applying some of the folk art white wicker paint with some water. We're going to make a little whitewash and go over the whole entire piece. It did dry very quickly, so I was able to go back and apply a little bit more to the areas that needed it. I took my cordless sander, went around all the edges, and now I'm putting those spindles in, and oh my gosh, my husband walked by as I was struggling with this because it's really easy to get the one side in. He saw me wrestling with the second side and he came to my rescue. To make it easier, I should have glued the one side in and then went to the other, but he got it for me, so I was very grateful. So I'm taking that same damp cloth with the antique wax and going over and wiping back some of the paint and adding some antique wax. The person that I am making this for has kind of a coastal boho style and a lot of grays and white washes in their decor. And I'm really excited because they have just started collecting albums, and this is going to hold and display their vintage album collection really nicely. I did apply 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum spray sealer all over the entire piece. This week, I will be posting a Canva tutorial, and it's going to be the first one in a series of videos that I'll be hosting during the week, and we'll still be having our upcycle videos on the weekends. So be looking for that notification. and have a super blessed week.